Hi, everybody. I'm really excited today to introduce you to a successful entrepreneur and AI aficionado. Some people call him the Cyborg CEO. Darren Gunawardana is with us today. Darren, welcome. I know you're a serial entrepreneur. You started your own businesses. You've been very successful, expert in Databricks and other things. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey? How long ago did you figure out that AI was where you needed to head, and what did you do to get into this?
Sure, absolutely. So as soon as ChatGPT was released, I knew this was going to be, a sea change out there, and I just wanted to dig in and get in as much as possible. I started that journey actually by getting some training by Addy as well,
Mm.
and kind of got an understanding that I was capable of doing this as a non-technical person. I've been in the data and AI field for over 30 years, but I'm a non-technical person. I deal with the sales, the marketing, the operations of my organization, but I was able to build something in a couple of hours. So then I took that inspiration and that leveraged that to empower my team as well as empower my ideas as well.
Cool. Well, I think you've got something to show us. Maybe visually will help us understand kind of where you started and what process you worked through and where you are today. So go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate that, Mark. So I think it's important to understand the kind of the context of what we're trying to solve as well, because we can get, hung up on kind of AI and not actually have any outcomes. So just to give you some context of who my company is, Collective. So we're actually a data and AI consulting firm. So we help large organizations implement Databricks and the Microsoft technologies for their data, as well as to try to get them more efficient with automations and AI as well. So we know this area very, very well. But the perspective that I was looking at it from was how do we benefit our operations and our go-to-market and various things like that. We've got a very complex business. So we sell to companies which are about 100 million to about $2 billion. We're dealing with C-levels or very high-level people within the organization. We're a very niche industry and niche target market, high ticket value, long sales cycles, complex sales cycles. And in the sales and marketing arena, we found it very, very difficult to acquire leads through maybe traditional methods that if you've got a product or a low ticket item, then it was more attuned to that. So we knew we had a particular issue with that and a particular journey to go on in terms of our lead generation and sales and marketing. And we really depend upon all of that lead generation from the ground up. All of our business is derived from organic inbound leads. So we put a lot of content out there. We've been doing that for over 6 years and spending a lot of time, money, and effort around that. We've tried paid ads and spent a lot per month around paid ads. That never benefited from us. Cold outreach never really benefited from us. And really the problems that we're feeling and experiencing on the marketing side was we had high quality content, but we didn't, it took a heavy lift to do that. We had to pull one of our consultants, our SMEs into that. It took maybe a month to produce a blog with an external agency, or even if we were doing it internally at times. It wasn't data driven at all. We just had, this will be a good idea for a blog. Let's throw it out there. The biggest problem was however much we spent on marketing, we never saw that was attributable to any of the leads. Yes, we were getting leads, but we didn't know how we were getting the leads.
What's that old saying? I know half my advertising dollars are wasted. I just don't know which half.
That's exactly it. And we are feeling it and feeling that pain every single day.
Yeah.
So our focus around kind of what we're trying to solve are kind of really 4 buckets here, First of all, this outbound mysterious thing, you can send out a load of cold outreach. How can we maybe do that? This inbound and this new arena, which really I became exposed to beyond the traditional SEO, which I'm definitely not an expert in. This new area of AEO and GEO, how LLMs pick up your organization, your company, your services, and then also obviously surface that up. 3 years ago, when we started this journey, those terms weren't even around because it was so new. But we knew we needed to do little things that, for example, I was taught with Addy's class, the robots.txt file on your website, now the LLM.txt file on your website, that sort of thing. Also, marketing automation. How can we create volume and scale and quality in an automated fashion, have an engine around that? And then obviously, once we've generated the lead, we want to optimize for sales as well. And this really, for me, is the kind of crowning glory. And this is a work in progress, but the results really speak for themselves in my mind. Okay, we started this. Initially, it took some time, but now we're getting consistent results from what we're doing. Previously, however much we did, however much we spent, I think at one point we were spending about $100,000 on different marketing activities and agencies and people and systems and things like that per month. Whatever we did on that side of the funnel, we only ever got 2 form fills per week on the leads coming in. Now we're doing a lot of this. We're getting attributable leads. We've obviously increased our leads, doubled them, and those are now completely attributable to, this was a Gemini search. This was a Claude search. And then when we connect with our clients, we ask them again, and they say, yes, I just went in and searched in whatever LLM, and you were highly ranked in there. And then that's why I made the decision to reach out to you. So this is kind of the key for me that unlocked it, and why I really wanted to share a lot of this, because it does actually work.
Doubled your leads, and now you can get better visibility where they're coming from.
Absolutely. And that's really a godsend. Doubling the leads on its own is nice, but to actually know that you see on the bottom of the HubSpot form that it came from that source, brilliant. And that was the kind of the key for me. So there's a little timeline of what happened. I went and exposed myself through one of Addy's trainings, which was fantastic. I started tinkering, and I think that's another really important aspect of it. Kind of get in there, play with it, because if you don't do that, you don't know what's possible and maybe some of the current limitations. So when you're translating that to your team, then also you don't know what's possible as well on your team side of things. So really empowering it, and it turned a light bulb on for me. I went on to a follow-up training. Obviously, these things are changing all the time. So keeping your knowledge up there, it's challenging, to be frank, because everything is changing literally on a daily basis. Then I leveraged some off-the-shelf tools as well, which I think is an interesting route. There's a lot of tools that you can take off the shelf. One specific to marketing was AirOps, where they kind of curate a lot of things and how you connect to your APIs and LLMs. We then went on from that, because really we wanted something more customized to our particular nuances and needs. And also we didn't want to pay a licensing fee, frankly. And that's when I empowered my team. But then also I saw some of the limitations of them doing that and not maybe having all of the knowledge. And we engaged an external development company who not only has expertise on the AI side of things, and I think the other aspect is that they understand kind of AEO and GEO and kind of the marketing realm. And I think that combination of AI knowledge and domain knowledge is key when you're engaging a partner.
So before you move on, for those watching who don't know, Adi Burlia, the founder of the Vijal Institute. So Adi created the Vijal Institute in 2023, and he started doing these trainings around the world. And I think really did inspire a lot of people. And this is the objective of Vijal, is empowering people to, first of all, see how to do it themselves. And it looks like that's what you did. You got inspired. You started building it yourself. You went for a follow-up class and kind of got deeper and more technically advanced and more inspired and continued building it out. That's fantastic to see.
Yeah, absolutely. That inspiration and that little bit of knowledge to know that you can do it yourself. Okay. And then if you can then put it in somebody else's hands who's got the time, more knowledge than you, domain knowledge of the subject that you're trying to build for, and then it's really on fire. So there's 2 main loops or systems that we've now created and developed specifically for us. And I think this is super interesting. And this is changing and moving in terms of where all is adding more capabilities and learnings. And it's a feedback loop. And that's why we call it our marketing loop. So first of all, when we get on a call, all of our historic calls from the last 6 years, we've pulled in on Fireflies. This is a big unlock for us. Let's learn how to talk to our customers from our customers. So this picks up, hey, this person talked about this service that you offer in this fashion. Let's now look on Google Search Console and see how often that gets searched. Okay, there's a decent search volume around that. All right, now let's go and automatically create a long form blog for you, which is completely optimized with all the meta tagging, all the relevant things that LLMs like FAQs and things like that. Let's then put the human in the loop, the subject matter expert. Go to your subject matter expert. Okay, there's a few edits that need to happen here. Okay, we're good with that. And then hit publish, and then it goes into your schedule for auto publishing. Then the exciting thing happens is when the lead comes in. They do a form fill in our case on our website. We know exactly that this person searched for us using ChatGPT and then came to us. But then it doesn't end from there, because now we then go through the sales cycle and we learn a lot of things from that, record everything, and then we recast everything, the long form blog, the nuances that we find through the sales process to LinkedIn and short form versions of this as well. So it's a never ending loop, which is really, really cool. And then the other side of that hinted on is that we're taking the same methodology and using it through the sales process as well. So all the way through to sales, through to delivery, what have we learned? What are the nuances? What's the language being spoken? That all gets fed back into the marketing loop, and then we're slowly getting better and better and better. And so here's some key aspects that we found as we've been building these things out with our development partner, is that you need to have a strong knowledge base. So that luckily we decided in our organization to record literally every single call, not just from prospects, but interpersonal calls within the company, delivery calls, all the rest of it. So we've got a wealth of information that we can pull in there. The second thing is obviously creating your voice. And I think a lot of people know about this, but this is super important, not just the voice and the brand of your company, but when somebody is writing a blog or the system's writing a blog for a particular individual, is this person more technical? How do they speak? And make it much more natural. What you don't want to do is have all these AI blogs being created for you, and your competitors are creating AI blogs and they sound exactly the same, and so on. So you want your own little spin on it as well. And then you want the information to come out in the fashion that your brand and your company likes, and kind of their methodology and their vibe. In terms of AEO and GEO, this was a really interesting learning process for us as well. And again, it's changing all the time, but I think we've got a good handle on it as well. So some key things that we weren't doing, hadn't done any PR. We started to decide to do some PR. Traditional PR feeds really nicely into here. As most people know, Reddit is a massive source for all these LLMs to cite. So being on all of those things, some of that blocking and tackling and more manual stuff is still very, very important. This long tail content is super important. We just had an example of this just a couple of weeks ago, where we put a very specific blog, the one that's mentioned here. Instead of talking about, are you interested in services around Power BI migration? It was specifically from this tool to Power BI, Cognos to Power BI. And literally within a week of us publishing that blog, we had 2 leads come in directly from that. So it's super powerful. And again, backed up by data. Freshness was another interesting one. We've got blogs going all the way back to 2019, but some of them are relevant to today, so maybe licensing in a technology. We went back to those and said, okay, 2021, that's not valid anymore, but let's not delete it. Let's not do that because it's already been crawled by the LLMs. Let's update it. Here's what you need to know for 2026 in terms of licensing and so on. Metadata on your blogs as well is, again, super important. Actually, by doing this, we found out that we hadn't been tagging our blogs in the correct fashion. There was a lot of mistakes. It enabled us to clean up our whole website. And that was another good thing that this derived from that as well. And then really where we're trying to get to, and I think this kind of applies across the board, whether it's on the marketing side and sales side and so on, we're not trying to get humans out of the loop. What we're trying to do is have our people, our team, concentrating on the things that really do matter and move the needle. The AI can do about 80% in our opinion. But really where the rubber hits the road is your subject matter experts coming in and saying, okay, no, there's a nuance here that we need to elaborate upon. There's a voice mismatch, maybe, that sort of thing, and really putting that. And that's also going to create your competitive differentiator between everybody putting sort of AI slop out there as well.
Yeah, right.
And then finally, this is kind of like the test that we take with everything when we're doing with AI is, could we do it with AI? And very often the answer is yes. But then we go to another qualifier. Should we do it with AI? We could have a human reach out to those people who fill out the leads, the forms for our leads, but we don't, because we know that we're a consulting business. We're based upon people, based upon trust. We want a human touch there. That's super important. Right. And then where we're going in the future, we're trying to create this whole company brain. So all of the data, all of the information from all the far reaches of our company that the AI agents can act upon where they're allowed to and where appropriate. They can pull a human into a decision and then be completely aware of everything that's going on in the organization that have different dependencies on it as well. So this is kind of what I talk to a lot of folks about, is kind of like, what are you going to do in the next 30 days? There's so many things coming in from so many different angles, so many things changing. It's very overwhelming. But I think this is a good place to start if you have kind of scratched the surface or you haven't started at all. Is first of all, build your company knowledge base or your personal knowledge base if you're promoting your personal brand, for example. Create a really intricate markdown file that understands you. So get something like Claude to ask you 100 questions and go really deep on you and how you would interact with your customers or that sort of thing. Have a look at your Google Search Console. This is a good thing, even when you're not doing anything on AI. It'll tell you a lot of things, and you can pull out reports from that and then iterate upon that as well. Start collecting all of your information, not just your blogs and things like that, but start recording everything. They're going to be a goldmine for the future. And most importantly, and this is an addy phrase, FAFO, really get in there and start tinkering and so on. So we built this ourselves through a partner company that we worked with, that we hired to build out our system. I thought it was so good, and I thought the attribution was so good, and we were getting results. I told the founder of that company to go off and productize this, and this is basically what's happening in the background there. So even if you don't want to build it yourself, there's so many tools that have been built now that will get you there as well. And that's another consideration on kind of how you approach getting sales and marketing automated with AI. And of course, here's my contact details. Here's the contact details for our developer with that tool as well. If you want to reach out, happy to answer any questions and guide you along the way as well.
That's fantastic. So I'm sure that 6 months in, when you started this journey in 2023, you probably felt like you had made a huge leap and you'd made a big impact, and you have. It's clear now that you see all the possibilities. Maybe 6 months in, you thought you were 50% of the way there. Today, where do you think? How much of the distance have you gone so far versus the possibilities you see in front of you?
My answer to that gets less and less every day, because there's so many other possibilities I mentally unlock where I was like, no, that can't be done, or that isn't a possibility. We can't scratch that. Now I think I'm at about 10% of what I want to do with in terms of collective and where we could get to. And also, it's an evolving thing as my people also evolve and understand these tools and get more from them. And also some of the fear goes down as well. They're coming to me with different capabilities and different things that I just simply don't see on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's really where the exciting rubber hits the road.
Great, Darren. Well, look, I'm excited to see this all started with a spark, with you taking one workshop, and look where you've taken it. Thanks for sharing your story. I can't wait to see where you get next with this, and I hope you'll check back with us in a few months. We want to see what you're getting up to. Thanks a lot for joining us today.
Thank you, Mark.